I've been a digital nomad for 7 months since November of last year because I wanted to leave the UK so bad because of what I've been through up there. I've lived in Malaysia and Vietnam. I told myself I will never come back to the UK ever again, and I'm back here. So what really happened? I've quickly realized while being a digital nomad within the first 3 months that this lifestyle just isn't for me. Before I get into this, can I get a like on this video please? And can you get me to 100 subs if you enjoy this kind of content so it reaches more people and the algorithm? Let's dive straight in. For the past few weeks, I've been through a lot of stress and depression due to Malaysia immigration. What happened was I overstayed in Malaysia on a tourist visa for 91 days when it's 90 days. Because of this, the immigration told me to go back to the UK where I am now, and I honestly did not want to come back here. I tried to get on a flight to Vietnam and I couldn't get on because I stayed in Malaysia one extra day, so my flight had to get cancelled. And I must say, Malaysia immigration is no joke. When I went inside the airport office and they told the staff what happened after they couldn't let me on the flight, the woman at the desk just looked angry and annoyed when she started asking me questions, and she did not like that I stayed in Malaysia for months and I didn't know anyone up there, which is not a great thing to do. It's very common up there for people to overstay their visa, taking advantage of tourist visa, which is 90 days. Because I remember one time in the hotel I was staying when I came to Malaysia the first time, some guys broke into my room while I was sleeping looking for people who overstayed, and they were going through each floor. And the first visa run I left before the deadline going to Vietnam, but the second time, which was recent experience, I booked the flight for wrong date, which led me to this whole situation. I remember a long time ago, this was years back before I became a digital nomad. I know a guy who was staying in Malaysia illegally back in I think 2019 or 2018 or before. And they caught him, they threw him in jail. He told me this story and he said that jails up there were horrible, taking cold showers, a strict diet, and he even became ill inside. And then when he came out of jail, he had to go back to his country. But going back to my immigration situation, they told me to leave the airport and go Putrajaya to settle the situation, which is a city in Malaysia. So as I leave the airport and go inside a Grab, which is a Uber around Southeast Asia, it took me I think 40 minutes to get to the immigration building in that city. And bro, I had to book a flight to the UK on that day and the hotel in Putrajaya in advance. And it was funny because while I was in that immigration building inside Putrajaya, a saleswoman approached me trying to persuade me to buy a product, and I kindly told her I'm not interested because I was just so stressed out that I couldn't even think clearly. Because I never anticipated this situation, I was dealing with all of this by myself, having no one around, and I learned a very important lesson: how crucial it is to have a team rather than doing everything yourself. You just can't do everything yourself. It makes things harder than it needs to be. When I arrived inside the immigration building and I'm asking people, where do I go? I managed to be in front of two officers, and one of them told me I had to pay I think 540 ringgit, which is about 98 pounds, for a specific special pass. If I paid that amount and went through the process, they would have blacklisted me in Malaysia, meaning I could never go back to the country if I picked this type of pass, and I surely did not want that. So I had to ask a lot of questions, like there has to be another option, this can't be the only option. So the officer recommended me to go to another office inside the same building, and I think that's the right word to use it when it comes to office. Maybe it's another word, but as I go to another office, I'm walking around for hours asking people where do I go, and luckily an older man guided me and helped me out, and I managed to be in an office in front of another female staff, and she's photocopying my flight to the UK. It was actually, I booked a flight in that office in advance for 2-3 days. in advance, and she photocopied my MDAC, which is a arrival card for the country before you come in, which you have to fill in within the 3 days. She photocopied my passport and other documents to show proof so I can settle this the next day. The staff told me to come next day at 7:30 in the morning since it will be a queue. So I leave the office and I'm overthinking, overanalyzing, which is a common trait I have that I've been dealing with for many years, and it's making everything more stressful for me. So I couldn't think clearly and I couldn't wait to get to my hotel. So I come next day and I managed to wait inside the building for 5 hours. They put the AC on full blast, and for some strange reason, maybe it's because of my body weight since I'm very skinny, I felt very cold while waiting when it was hot outside. In Malaysia, even if it's raining, it can still feel hot throughout the year. I was wearing a black vest with pants and a bag. I'm getting very impatient and my blood is boiling as time goes on because I just can't wait for all of this to finish. I'm looking at the TV screen, keeping an eye out for my number, and I managed to get up to the counter 3 times. First time is to hand over all of the documents. Second time was to settle the payment, which was 80 ringgit instead of 540 ringgit. And third time was to collect the receipts and all of the documents. Now, ringgit is the currency in Malaysia, just to let you know. After when everything was settled, I get inside the taxi requesting the driver if I can have the window down since the view outside looked absolutely amazing in Putrajaya. The weather that day was amazing, and while the car is moving, I'm looking out, saying to myself that this is the last time I will see this view since I have to go back to the UK sadly. There is barely anyone outside while I was in the car. I think Putrajaya is a quiet city ideal for professionals, where it's probably a wealthy area or a place where people move to live a great life. The houses up there and the areas were really quiet and nice when I was walking, exploring since it was my first time being there. But to all the Malays out there, let me know in the comment section what the city is well known for since I'm very curious. So, as I get out of the taxi and checked inside my hotel room, I go to sleep and wake up. I'm on the 14th floor in my room in the middle of the night, just severely depressed because I just did not want to go back to the UK. I never expected this to happen since I thought I was going to be in Vietnam and I had my hotel booked in that country. The staff on WhatsApp is contacting me, asking me will I be coming, and there's nothing I can do since I was in Malaysia for another 2 days. While I'm severely depressed, I'm reevaluating my whole life, thinking, well, shit, what am I gonna do now since I did not want to go back to the UK? What's next for me? So during those 2 days, I'm going for long walks to clear my mind and I'm exploring the city, right? Looking at the houses and the whole area at night while reflecting, and the depression just wouldn't go away while I was walking. I come back to my hotel room and I'm getting even more depressed, asking myself, well, how am I going to be patient with a 13-hour flight? Since going from Malaysia to UK takes about 13 to 14 hours. And that was stressing me out. So I'm also thinking that what is it going to be like in the UK when I arrive? So fast forward, I check out of my hotel and arrive at the Malaysia airport in the early hours. And for some strange reason, I see my dream car waiting outside of the airport, which is the black Porsche Taycan Turbo S. And this car, it was in navy blue, and I had an itch to ask the driver how much did he buy the car for and what did he do to afford the car since it's a car that I want to buy. Imagine being in that car and I can listen to whatever album on the speakers while driving by the mountains, which is an ideal activity that I would love to do on my day-to-day basis. So I started to overthink. My mind was telling me, well, what if he ignores me or drives off? So I go towards the car and the person drives off and I'm just staring at the car while I have my suitcase. And It looked like a spaceship with the lights on, which was a very strange experience, and I never expected it to come at that time or at the airport since I saw this car multiple times in Malaysia. And I have this car on my phone lock screen, so when I open my phone I see my dream car, which I will show you a screenshot of. So I check inside the airport, I get on a 13-hour flight, and now I'm in the UK. Then I arrive from Heathrow Airport to Paddington Station on a train, and I'll show you guys a picture. There was just so many people. It was so packed. I think I came last Thursday or Friday. I can't really remember. But I was like, screw that. I'm taking an Uber. This is just too much. It's a headache. So the train stations in London are the place for working professionals. So I came at the wrong time since I think people were finishing work and trying to get on to go home. And how am I supposed to navigate this if it's this busy, right? So I get out of the station and I'm waiting for my Uber to arrive, and it finally arrives, and guess what happened? I can't find the driver anywhere. So he manages to cancel, which happened to me twice on the app. And at the same time, I'm finding it difficult to find another driver. So second time the driver canceled within minutes after arrival. I would never go through cancellations in Malaysia or Vietnam on the Grab app. Drivers just never used to cancel up there. It really happened to me. So I finally get inside the taxi and I arrive at King's Cross Station waiting for the train so I can get out of London. And guess what happened? The train is delayed. After a while, finally the train arrives and I'm thankfully out of London, away from so many people. I personally don't like being in London since it's so busy and crowded. While I'm on the train, I'm paranoid, stressed out, depressed, thinking I can't wait to arrive in the city and get out of this train because of how I feel. I'm never taking trains ever again, and I never want to feel this way again. I just don't like being on trains since this will be my last time. This is an example of why it's important to make more money so you can dodge these types of services, which is something that I'm craving. So the train arrives finally to the city, and I get to my hotel, and there are drug addicts arguing outside of the place at midnight. If you live in the UK, this is a common thing here. So I check in and I wake up the next day going for walks multiple times a day because of the depression that I was going through. And this thought keeps coming up, telling me that I don't want to be here and I want to get out. I'm just not happy and I don't like this. So while I'm on a walk, I'm reflecting, coming up with a plan, and saying to myself that I refuse to stay in this situation. I need to do something about this. And while on a walk, I'm thinking hard on what solutions do I need to come up with. Since this July, the weather has been great so far. I will show you pictures I've taken. One of them is in London. There's also a picture I've taken of people using jet skis in the afternoon near my hotel, which I've never seen this before while living here my whole life, and it was very cool to see that people outside enjoying themselves. I then go on a walk in the evening, and Norway was playing against England in the World Cup. Restaurants and pubs were packed. While I was walking at night, all of a sudden people are screaming, and I'm by myself, feeling down, thinking I just don't want to be here. I don't fit in this environment since I don't watch sports or do nights out. Maybe in the future, I'll probably participate in these activities. This is really strange of me to say since I'm British and it's a common thing here, but for me, this is just not something that I just don't do this. And in Britain, it's a common thing for people to go out and drink with their friends and watch sports at the pub. But when I arrived in my hotel, I set up Spare Room, which is an app people use here to find rooms, and I'm calling and messaging people, booking viewings, looking to move in ASAP. So I finally found a room within a week, and now I'm settled in. which was very quick experience. Usually it would take me a long time when I was living in another city, and I feel as though I'm in the right location, having amenities nearby, and I can focus as well. And I'll be staying inside since I want to get out of this situation in terms of pursuing my goals and not having more fun than the rest of the people, right? And I don't want to be in this country for long. I will most likely be leaving the UK again in 2 to 3 years. I refuse, to stay here. I want more out of life despite what's happening around the world. Life is just too short. This time I'll do things very differently than I did before. I've set goals for myself that I need to achieve, and once they are achieved, I will leave the UK the right way for good. So in conclusion, if I was to go back to the digital nomad life, which I won't, I would have done things a different way. I would have got a team, because now I realize that I can't do this myself. It's very difficult, and plus without a team I would have wasted a lot of my precious time that I'll never get back. So I need a team because it would make everything way easier, since I can avoid a lot of situations like the one I faced with immigration. I would have generated income since I was relying on my savings, and that just does not last long. If my savings ran out abroad, I would have been in a terrible situation, so thankfully I avoided that. I would have got an apartment rather than living in hotels, since I could see the same people every day rather than new people. And plus, I don't have to check out every week since I'm at the same place, right? Going to different hotels just drained me, so if I had an apartment, I would have avoided that at all cost. But this digital nomad life, I knew early on that this just wasn't for me. It's really lonely. I felt bored, isolated. You don't understand the environment well, which can make you a target. Too many distractions, and I found it very hard to focus on my goals since I was moving a lot. I hated booking flights and hotels. I hated going through airports and waiting in queues and flying economy. I just did not like that at all. Plus, up there, despite the great weather, I was depressed because I just couldn't find like minded individuals that I can hang out with. I could have avoided all of this if I did things a different way. I wonder what flying on a private jet or first class feels like, since I would never fly economy ever again. It just feels really uncomfortable. I assume flying first class or private jet, you get on a flight straight away, skipping past all of the queues, and the seats are, very comfortable. Maybe taking naps is so comfortable, whereas sleeping on economy is just, it doesn't feel good, and I never want that experience ever again. So my biggest worry right now while living in the UK is the weather. As you know, the weather in the UK is just not good. And how am I going to get along with people and being in a situation that I don't want to be in, questioning myself? How do I get out of the situation, which is something that I dread? And I've been through this before and I don't want to go there, which is a very common thing amongst people around my age, being in situations they don't like and, complaining about it. And for me, I refuse to accept that. Like, bro, fuck that. Life is short and too precious. My time is scarce, since I can die at any moment. We live in an era now where people believe they have infinite amount of time, and you don't. Your time is very scarce. Realizing that creates a sense of urgency, which makes me reflect on, well, how would I want to spend my time since I can go at any moment? Now, while I'm living in the UK for the time being, I'll probably do nightlife sometimes or go out, but it's something that I don't enjoy really, since I'm a room addict and I love being in my room, but that doesn't help at all recently. So it's something that I'll probably try out in the future. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I don't. I don't know. Since I've seen on the internet, nightlife in the UK, people fighting and arguments, and I don't know if I want to deal with that. But to close this video off, I honestly don't want to be in the UK anymore, and I will be leaving in 2 to 3 years, doing things a different way, possibly the right way. And I will never live the digital nomad life as it's not for me. It's great on the internet, but in reality, it's a complete opposite, in my opinion. I'm right now in the middle. I don't want to be a digital nomad and I don't want to be in the UK. So I have to figure out, well, which country do I want to move to that I like and has the people that I want to be around. In other words, that it clicks for me when I live there. Plus, the places I went, anyone can go there, which makes me not want to go there. And I want to be around upper class and wealthy families. So for me, I have to make more money and pay extra money to get into these environments. I wonder where these people live, where do they be, what vacations they take, and what do they do on a day-to-day basis. So if you have any questions about digital nomad life or about the UK or anything else, please do comment below and I will reply. But for now, take care everyone.